So we're texting through like Facebook. I didn't really have a phone. I had like a tablet. And my mom was like, I guess she went through my tablet one day or through my email, something. You know how Facebook used to tell you the messages through your email as well? And like her name in my phone was wife. So my mom saw and like, she was like, what the fuck is this? And like, I got so scared. I ran out of my house. Like my mom chased me down with her car. It was a whole thing. Yes. Like, and I was just like, oh my God. My older sister had to stop my mom from going crazy. Like she was there like, don't touch her. Like, what the fuck? Like, mom, like you're bugging, like go back in the car, whatever. So my mom got back in the car and she's like, what is it? Like, is it a phase? And I'm just like scared of my ass. I'm like, it's just a phase. Like I was just playing. Like,
what's your name? What are your gender pronouns? How old are you? And what's your sexuality?
Okay, my name is Sheiki. My gender pronouns are she, her. I'm 23 and I'm a lesbian.
What are you passionate about?
I'm an artist, so I'm really, really passionate about my art. I do hair, I sing a little bit, I've always danced a little bit, and mainly just my art. Like I'm really, really big on my art and portraying my art to the world, whether they know it's me or not.
What type of art do you like dabble into?
Canvas. I paint on everything. Honestly, anything. Yeah. Okay. I'm a painter. I draw. I do a lot of mixed media art too. I do bucket hats, like customized clothing, things like that.
That's really dope. Yeah. Can you tell us like your favorite piece you've created? Anything relating to sexuality?
Recently, I just did a Medusa painting. Ooh. Yeah, it's not fully done yet, but it just came to me one night. Like I just couldn't sleep, and I just started working on a Medusa painting, and it's about like 3 feet tall. So right now, that's my favorite painting. Yeah.
Can you describe it to us?
She's black, really high cheekbones, crazy locks. Well, not crazy, but big locks. She doesn't have a body, so it's just like her head on a podium. And the background is like a different shades of purple and clouds, like cloud form.
That's really dope. Can you tell us a little about what it was like for you growing up? What was your relationship to your parents, siblings, and friends?
Oh, wow. Okay. Growing up, I grew up in a really strict environment. Like, strict to the point of like what I can wear, what I can eat, who I can be friends with, what I can watch, what I can listen to, what I can like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I guess I know my mom did it out of love or protection, you know, so I'm not necessarily mad at her, but it did affect how I make decisions in my adult life now. And my relationship with my mom is not the best because of it, because once I left, and you know, now you left and you don't have somebody telling you what to do all the time, my life went to shit. Like, you know, not really to yeah, it went to shit. Like, it went to shit. Like, I flunked out of school. Like, I experimented with things. I wasn't addicted or anything, but I was partying a lot. Like, I was just going crazy. Like, and I don't regret anything. I would do it all again because I do feel like it helped me become who I am now. But I think a lot of it could have been avoided if I wasn't so sheltered as a child.
Did your sexuality play into like you leaving?
Not to my mom's knowledge, but to mine, 100%, yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because my mom is like kind of homophobic. Like, you know, she would never treat another person outside of her family a type of way for being gay. Like, she would never, like, if you came or a person came to her house who was gay, like, she would treat them nicely, but she would always say, like, not in my house, though, or, like, not my kids. And it's, like, from young, like, having that embedded in you, it kind of fucked with me. Like, you know, I was trying to figure out what I even liked. I tried to force myself to not like women, or, like, you know, you pray it away. Like, you're like, please, God, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I went through that a lot. And when I finally did decide, like, okay, like, I'm tired of living my life by somebody else's rules, like, it was time for me to go. And at that point, I didn't know I was making that choice, but I just started rebelling. Like, I just started doing whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it. And my mom did not like that at all. Like, it put a giant strain on our relationship. And eventually, I just left. Like, I had nothing, and I just left, and I've been on my own ever since.
Oh, wow.
I mean, my relationship with my siblings, though, we're really close. We're really, really close. Like, they're like my rocks. Like, I don't know what I would do without them.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
When did you first know you were a lesbian, and what did the coming out process look like for you?
Okay, so recently, like I've dated men before. Like I actually just got out of, not just, but I just got out of a relationship like 8 months ago with a guy. And after leaving that relationship, I spent a lot of time by myself. Like I moved out, and this was my first time having like a roommate situation with one of my closest friends now. And I spent a lot of time by myself. I wasn't dating. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't doing anything. I was just like wanting to replenish my own energy. I felt like I put so much energy into somebody else, into healing them, into helping them. And you know, I'm not saying I didn't receive anything or it was the worst experience of my life, but it was draining, you know? So once I finally left, I stayed a lot of time by myself, and I started to look back on my relationships. I'm like, you know, I never really was in love with these men. Like I was dating them, and I guess I kind of sometimes forced myself to like them. I'm like, okay, they like me, they treat me well, so I might as well like them too. But it's like I didn't really, it wasn't natural, you know? It wasn't like I was just like falling into this and pouring myself into it. It was kind of just like, I feel like I have a very like nurturing and empathetic spirit about myself, so I usually gravitate towards people who need that nurturing and like that empathy, and a lot of time that was men, you know? And I feel like after I left those situations, you know, and the way that I realized the way that I detached from relationships with men was really toxic, like when I think about it, because I just would stop giving a fuck. Like once I stopped caring, like I really stopped caring. Like it wasn't even like anger. It wasn't like I'm like, oh fuck them. Like no, I just was like, it's like they no longer existed to me. Like once I lost interest, it was over. And like I started looking back on my situations with women, and I'm like, I'm still hurt by the shit. Yeah, like my connections with women is like, it was completely different than my connections with men. It's like so much deeper, on a deeper level. It's like, damn, like I think about it and I'm like, you know, I don't hate them, but like I'm still hurt, or like I still feel so much love for that person, or I still feel so much like regret, or whatever the case may be, for that person. When I think about my relationships with men, even the ones that ended badly, I don't regret a thing. Like I don't really think like I wish this would have been different. Like no, I'm okay.
You're just done.
Yeah, like I detached myself and that was it. And like I feel like me detaching myself from men was a lot easier than me ever detaching myself from women. Like, and it's not to say I was always attached, but literally like even friendships that turned into more, like it was so hard to walk away from. Like even now I'm still like, damn, that sucks that it ended that way. When it comes to guys, it's kind of like, you know, I learned what I learned, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. So like I feel like after all that, I started to realize, yo, I really don't. And then I think about it, like I really would get disgusted by men. Like I would be in anything, like they could be like sitting literally, and I'm just like, I'm disgusted. Like you ever like you're with somebody for a long time and then they're just doing regular, like they breathe the wrong way, and you're just like, I'm disgusted. And then I think about with women, and it's like I can be turned off by women, but I'm never disgusted. And my best friend, I was talking to her recently, she was just like, you know, I don't think you like the men. Like she was like, if I was watching a video and the girl was like, if you ever looked at a man and he was doing an everyday task and you thought to yourself, I'm disgusted, like you probably don't like men. And I'm like, you know, that's my favorite word to use, like
to
literally
describe men.
Yes, like, and sometimes it's not even, they don't have to do anything. Like it's not even like they did something that made me go like, oh, I'm disgusted. Like no, it's like.
Have you ever had like an emotional attachment to men?
Yeah, I think I have had like a codependency to men, but was I emotionally attached on a deeper level?
Not really.
No. Like my first love, he was a guy, and we never did anything sexual. It was just so pure. Like it's to the point where I realized like that's true love, like as a friendship, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was that I was in love with him, but now I think about it and he's having a whole family and kids and everything, and I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for him. Like I'm so happy he found love, you know what I'm saying? And like I feel like that is a deep true meaning of like what love is to want somebody to be happy with or without you. But I knew I could never give him that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think back on my relationships with men and I'm like, yeah, I could never give them what they truly deserved out of love. You know, whether or not they weren't shit or whatever, like, I was just not the person for them. Like, as much as I'm a loving, caring person, I couldn't give you the love that you needed from a woman because I don't love you on that level.
You love women on that level.
Yeah.
So can you like describe this point of like clarification when you realize, oh, I like women and I don't like men?
I'm thinking about my life right now. I'll imagine my life with a man. I only think about polygamy when I imagine my life with a man. I only think about also wanting a girlfriend when I imagine my life with a man. But when I imagine myself with a woman, there's no polygamy. No, I don't want any of that. I don't know, like, I don't, nobody else is needed here. Like, you get what I'm saying? And I started thinking, like, if I was polygamous, I would need that in all of my relationships, not just with men. Like, I would crave that for, if I'm dating women, I would also want a man with me, but that's not the case at all. And I started thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I really don't like men. Yeah, like recently I was speaking to my sister, and it's like I have a lot of guy friends, and the more I speak to guys and the more I learn about how men think, and I'm just like, no. Like, I love the masculine energy, and I feel like I'm very feminine, so I do need masculine energy in my life, period. Like, not romantically, but you know, I do feel like there's a balance that is needed within us. So I'm happy to have male friends, but
to marry one, it's like no.
Yeah, no.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest misconception that most people have about lesbians?
You know, I would say I'm a newfound lesbian, so I can't really say full on what I think is the biggest misconception as of yet. But I will say when I identified as bi, like before, people would say like, you're confused, or they would assume that like women liking women can be changed to liking men. But like, you know, a man even thinking another guy's cute, oh, he's gay, that's it. But if a woman is like, I'm gay, it's like, oh, but have you had the right dick? Or have you? And it's like, no, like I just don't like men. Like, that's it. Like, it's not about sex. It's not about physical. Like, I can find you attractive, but that's it. Like,
that's it. I know you just mentioned that you once identified as bisexual.
Yeah.
So how was that transition from bisexual into like the lesbianism?
Honestly, I was identifying as bisexual because I didn't know what to call it. Like, I knew all my life, like I think back on my furthest memory of like having a crush, it was not a man, it was a girl. Like, I was a kid and it was a girl, but I grew up in such a strict household that my mom did not play that shit. I'm Jamaican, so you know, they're very traditional and they're very religious and tight, and they're very like, no, like that's wrong. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for a while growing up, I denied it. I didn't even, like, when people would be like, you like girls? And I'd be like, no, like, I don't like women, like, whatever. But then deep down, I'm like, yeah, like, what the hell? But I couldn't admit it to myself. So when I finally did come out and I finally did say, okay, like, I do think I like women, I just felt like it was safer to identify as bi. Because then even if my mom found out, at least there's a possibility that I could end up with a man. You know what I'm saying? But then recently I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, no, there's no possibility of me marrying a man. Like, there's no possibility of me ending up with a man. And that realization helped me realize, like, okay, like, you are a lesbian. You gotta accept it. Like, there's a lot of reasons I wanted to do this interview, because I feel like it was a part of the process of me owning that truth and like speaking on it and just letting it be what it is. And like fully accepting myself, you know, before needing acceptance from anyone else.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you agreed to come here and share your story.
Me too.
I know it's going to change so many lives, you know?
I hope so.
It will. It definitely will. Have you ever felt that you were the victim of homophobia or felt threatened by those around you because of your sexual orientation? If yes, can you provide an example?
My whole life. My mom didn't know I was into women, but she was highly homophobic, like highly homophobic. Like, she does not, it's
like, in what ways does she express that homophobia?
Like, she would always say like, oh, not like, okay, so say for example we're watching a show and there's like a gay character, she'd be like, oh my god, every show these days has to have a gay character, like like, I can't understand, it's just an abomination to God and to and I'm sitting there like, little do you know, like literally it's like, oh my god, like it really like forced me to suppress a lot like of emotion, and like it led me to be in this confused state. Like now I'm not confused, but before, like I was so confused, and I was like, yeah, completely. My household is not the most accepting household to things that weren't traditional at all. So I feel like, and on top of that, there was this one time, now that I'm thinking about it, there was this one time that my first girlfriend in high school, right? And we didn't even date for that long, but she's my first real girlfriend, and she did me dirt.
What?
Like, it was horrible.
What did she do? If you feel like sharing.
She was just a cheater, and she just lied, and I knew it. I saw all the red flags, and I still stayed. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. And, like, that's another thing. Like, I've never been in a relationship with a guy where I've seen red flags and stayed.
But
like,
women, you give them the benefit.
Yes,
of the doubt.
and it's like I started thinking about it. And like I would see girls do it with guys, and I'm like, I don't get it, because the minute a guy, I'm like, I'm gone. And then I would end up in situations with women. I'm like, all right, I see, I get it. Like, okay, like that makes sense. Like, but yeah. So there's one time, so we're texting through like Facebook. I didn't really have a phone. I had like a tablet, and my mom was like, I guess she went through my tablet one day or through my email, something. You know how Facebook used to tell you the messages through your email as well? And like her name in my phone was wife. So my mom saw, and like she was like, what the fuck is this? And like I got so scared, I ran out of my house. Like my mom chased me down with her car. It was a whole thing. Yes, like, and I was just like, oh my god. My older sister had to stop my mom from going crazy. Like she was there like, don't touch her, like what the fuck, like mom, like you're bugging, like go back in the car, whatever. So my mom got back in the car, and she's like, what is it? Like, is it a phase? And I'm just like scared of my ass. I'm like, it's just a phase. Like, I was just playing. Like, we just play like that. It's not that deep. And I'm just like, it was, now thinking about it, it was really fucking traumatic. Like, it really like forced me back. Like, you know, at the time, like, you know, you grow up in a Jamaican household, like, it's just generally harsh. Like, it's like you don't realize it's harsh until you're telling people your stories, and they're like, that's not normal. You're like, you know, you may have a point there, you know. So like that's something, like that was the only experience I've ever had with my mom, with me, like her even thinking I liked a woman, and she reacted so horribly that I never brought it up again, or never, like, anytime I did have anything with a woman, it was after I moved out of my mom's house. Like, it was never when she was there. And if it was, like, I would have to let the person know, like, hey, like, you know, I know that you probably want to meet my mom, and I know you probably want to meet my family, but that's not going to happen. And, you know, that ruined a lot of relationships for me, because people would think I was confused or I didn't actually like them because I wouldn't be out to my family. And it's like, no, my mom is just like really homophobic, you know? So yeah, that's my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think the effects of race on your sexuality are, if there are any?
There's a giant effect on my sexuality because of race. Like, already being a black woman is, you know, and then I'm Caribbean, and then I'm Jamaican, so it's like it adds on. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Then to be a lesbian is like, oh my god, you know, like we're already treated a type of way. We're already treated a type of way from being black. You're already treated away from being lesbian, so like it adds on to it, you know. I definitely feel like it made me really weary to choose to be who I am and to love it and to actually accept it. Like, it made me really scared. Like, even right now talking, I'm still kind of nervous, but I'm doing it because it's a part of like owning my truth, you know?
Why are you nervous? Why are you scared?
This is the first time on a public spectrum that I've ever spoken on my sexuality. Like, if you know me personally, you know that I like women. But if you don't know me personally, like, it's not something I advertise, or it's not something I've like, and it's not something I necessarily hide either. But I've also, like, I realized because I was closed off from that so much and from those emotions, I don't even have a lot of friends in that community. I don't even have a lot of, and I want to. Like, I think not being fully out or not speaking on it in a public place or in a public setting, like, has hindered me from being around the people who I'm actually supposed to be around, or like who I can be gravitated towards or drawn to, like, you know.
Have any friendships, family relationships, you mentioned this, your mom,
Yeah.
and or job opportunities been ruined because of your sexual orientation? If yes, can you share an experience or two with us?
No friendships, and to my knowledge, I haven't lost any jobs because of it, but me and my mom's relationship, whether she knows it or not, has been drastically affected by by me knowing she will never fully accept me.
How does that make you feel, knowing that that part of your identity, something you cannot control, changed your whole relationship with your mom?
It sucks. It does, but recently I've come into understanding that this is my journey. You know, like we all have our own individual journey, and it's okay. It's not always gonna align with the next person. You know, that comes with, like, that's something I also discovered when I broke off with this guy and I was by myself. Like, I started to notice, like, because of how I was raised, I had a problem setting boundaries. I had a problem people pleasing and all these things. And now that I'm sitting in that and I'm like, okay, I need to set boundaries. I need to have standards. I need to have these things. It's like I really could give a fuck less who I'm accepted by, or I really don't care. You know, like, it's my journey. Whether or not you're on it, it's still going to continue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Like, I feel like before, like, recently my mom had like a horrible interaction, but before that, I was kind of like afraid, like, of every life decision I made, how my mom would think. Like, what would she feel? Or how would she be proud? Or how would she feel about this? Like, or what if I never go back to college? Like, how would she feel? Or what if I never do this? Like, how would she feel? And now it's kind of like,
So the problem was beyond your sexuality.
yeah, it was way deeper. It was way deeper. And I think accepting that and coming into that, stepping into setting boundaries and opening up to the people I care about and to even myself about who I am, and like even sitting in my femininity. Like, you know, a lot of people feel like you can't be feminine and be a lesbian, or you can't be this way and be this, like, and stepping into that femininity and realizing, like, okay, just because I attract men doesn't mean I like them. Or just because I'm in this setting and my energy pulls these people towards me doesn't mean I have to give them the time of day. You know, it's like accepting that, it's really eye-opening. Like, setting boundaries and just not needing permission to be who I am, it changed a lot.
What is your opinion on using labels to identify ourselves? Labels such as lesbian, bisexual, gay, transsexual. Are you for or against them?
That's a good question. I think sexuality is a wide spectrum. So I think putting labels on it was really just so heterosexual people could understand it more. You know, I feel like people who are in the LGBT community, like, I don't think we would have cared to group ourselves like this. We just wanted to be accepted just for being human and just for liking what we like and being who we want to be. You know, I feel like labels were created so the rest of the world could, like, understand, or, like, you know, which sometimes understanding is a good thing, but I also feel like it was meant to separate us, and we're already separated by so many other things, like race and whatever. Like, it was just another cherry on top, you know. But I do think for certain people, and depending on, like, people, like, what kind of relationships they want, sometimes labels are important to them. You know, like, some people are like, they don't want to date a trans, like, they may not be transphobic, but they may not want to date a trans woman, or they may not want to date a trans man, or whatever the case may be. And for them, labels may matter. So, you know, personally, I don't really, you know, I think it's important for me personally to now start identifying as a lesbian, just so that I can have a better understanding of who I am. But I think once I fully sit in that, it won't really matter for me to be like, oh yeah, I'm a lesbian. I just feel like I'm gonna like who I like, you know what I'm saying, and be with who I be with, and that's it. Like,
Can you share one of your most treasured love stories with women with us?
oh God. Oh wow, that's a deep question.
If you mind.
I don't mind, but I have to think. Wow, that's so I guess, okay, so my most recent, well, I guess it wasn't really, it was confusing. But my most recent experience with a woman was with my roommate, which is now, like, my best friend. And we don't live together anymore, but when we did live together, like, it was very confusing because we both like women and both knew we were attracted to each other and whatnot, but we also cared deeply about our friendship. And crossing that boundary was something, like, we didn't really want to do, but you know, it's not really a choice sometimes. And I treasure that because even though it didn't go in a romantic direction, like I feel like she taught me what true love is, because it's like I just want her to be happy. Like I don't care who she's with or what she does, like as long as she's happy, like I'm okay. You know, and I feel like it's the same thing for her. Like she just wants me to be happy, and like our friendship has flourished so much, it's been so open. It's like the most open friendship I've ever had with a person. Like seeing the ugly, the pretty, everything, and just still accepting that person and seeing that they need to grow and just wanting to help them grow. It's like I couldn't ask for anything more.
I know when you speak of love and being in love with people, you mentioned how you always want to see them happy even if it's not with you. Is that because you don't see yourself being happy in a relationship?
No, I don't think that's why. I think sometimes we may want people to be aligned with us, but they aren't. And I think accepting the fact that somebody may not be aligned with you and still being able to love them and still being able to want them happy is good. It's like, it's good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I spent a lot of time trying to make things align with me that are not for me, and it's hindered me. And I also feel like I've tried to make myself align with others because I know that they want it that way. Like, for example, my ex that I just broke off with, like, I know he wanted to be aligned with me. I know he wanted, but I feel like I was hindering his growth by staying with him because I knew I wasn't the person for him, and I knew like me staying with him was kind of like enabling him. So it's like, I do see myself one day being happy in a relationship. You know, I do feel like peace is more important to me than happiness, but you know, yeah.
Are you religious?
I'm more spiritual than I'm religious, yeah.
Does that tie into anything like with your family, or just because?
I think my mom had a lot more spiritual ties than I realized growing up, because there were things that were just happening around my house. I didn't know that was connected to spirituality, like burning incense and like praying over a house before you move in, or like certain things, like just like blessing your child before they leave, or like giving things to your food. Like I thought that was things everybody did, you know, until I grew up and realized like, oh, this is not a thing everyone does. Like, this is something I feel good about. Like, I feel good about praying over my space, or, you know, giving gratitude. Like, I wake up every morning, like, even if I'm not in the best mood, like, thank you, universe, for waking me up. Like, you know, like, thank you, continue to guide me. Like, even if I'm not grateful, you know, I'm sorry if it doesn't come off gratitude sometimes, but you know, I am grateful. Please continue to guide me. Like, whoever I'm talking to, you know, I do genuinely feel like I'm guided, because I've been in some situations where I probably shouldn't be sitting here right now, and I am, you know, so I guess that's the reason I'm spiritual.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the current representation of LGBTQI plus people in the media?
I feel like it sucks sometimes.
Why is that?
I feel like it's really good in the sense that people are now being more aware of it, but I feel like it sucks because now they're using it for money. Like, they're using it to make money, or they, like, for example, Pride. I feel like Pride used to be something that we really did take pride in. It was just like a beautiful way for everybody to just come together, and now it's kind of like everywhere puts the rainbow flag so that they can sell, or like pretend to support, but they don't really support. Like, the minute Pride Month is over, like, there's no more rainbow flag, or like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think the media, and it's just, they found a new way to make money from it, you know? So I don't really think it's represented well, especially because like now everybody's talking about how, oh, like, don't put gay characters in TV shows because you're sexualizing it for kids. And it's like, where was this energy when there were straight couples? Because that was sexualized too, but nobody had a problem with it. Now all of a sudden it's don't sexualize anything because now they're putting LGBTQ characters. Like, how does that make sense? Like, you can't make somebody gay. You can't make somebody something that they're not. You can't program them that way. You just are who you are. That's it. Like, it's like, if anything, I should be straight right now because I've been programmed that way my entire life. I've been pushed that way my entire life, but it's not something I can change. It's not something I can. If I had a choice, I probably would choose the easier route of, like, you know, not having to deal with being accepted or whatever and just choosing the route everybody, but I don't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? So for people to make it seem like it's, oh, you're such an influence over these people, it's like, nobody's influencing them. They are who they are. It's just representation. That's it. Like, yeah.
When did you first see a queer person on the media, like social media or even like the TV?
I don't really remember my first time, but I do remember when I was living in Miami.
Okay, sorry.
I'm not sure when my first representation of like a queer person was, but I do remember when I lived in Florida and I lived in Miami and Nicki Minaj first popped off, and I guess she came out like she was saying she was bi or something, and now everybody started saying, oh yeah, I'm bi, and like at that time I actually was. And because like it was such a trend, I just kept it to myself because I'm like, I don't want anybody to think I'm in that group. Like I'm not, like, don't mix me with like those people. But I think that's all I can remember. I can't really remember anything past that. There's probably been more before that, but I don't remember. I can't recall.
I know you just mentioned people jumping onto like biphobia or even like beyond biphobia, like just being a lesbian or being gay as some sort of like a way to fit into society or be on trend. How do you feel about that?
It's really annoying because especially when I used to identify as bi, women would not take me serious. Like they would not believe that I actually, like, at that time I'm like, I would see myself marrying a woman. I see myself like doing the insemination. I would carry the babies. Like I don't care. Like I see it happening. You know what I'm saying? And like they would just, nah, you're gonna leave me for a guy. It's like, no, if I'm a person who leaves people for other people, I'm gonna leave you. Just because that's the type of person that I am. But that's not the type of person that I am. I could be straight, gay. I could have been a lesbian and still left you for another girl. But it's like, I feel like because so many people were hopping on that trend, they didn't even want to take the chance. So where it's like, when you're out, like, when you, like, I was first going to gay clubs and, like, girls would be like, oh, what's your, and I was like, I'm bi. Like, I wouldn't even want to say it. Like, I'm like, bye. Like, and they're just like, what? What'd you, and I'm like, oh, God. Like, I don't even want to say it because I know once I say it, I'm going to scare you off. Because you already have this misconception of, like, bisexual people that were confused or that were always having threesomes or that were always doing this and that. It's like, no, like I can be fully monogamous to one person and that's it. Like if I'm a shitty person, yeah, I'm gonna shit on you. That has nothing to do with my sexuality. It's like, you know, I feel like that by like people hopping on that trend really took a toll on the actual community. And it sucks that people within our actual community couldn't see that and see past it. Like they actually kind of fed into it instead. It like,
yeah, so there's like biphobia and the LGBTQ.
Exactly, and it's like, how do you have phobia in our own community? Like that doesn't even make sense. It's crazy. Like we're literally in the name. Like what the hell? Like I don't know. It makes no sense. But it's like it's even different for bi women and bi men. Like when it's a guy who's bi, people automatically like, nah, you're gay. There's no way you still like women. Like you're just gay. That's it. But when a girl's bi, she's like, oh, she's just confused. Like why am I confused? Like why can't I just like both? Like why can't, or like it's like, for example, my ex, like he knew I was bi and he would just be like, oh, I'm fine with you doing things with a girl. I'm like, you should not be fine with that. Like it's the same thing as me doing with a guy. If it's cheating, it's cheating. You know, after a while I kind of regretted convincing him of that because I'm like, damn, now I do wish like I had, you know what I'm saying? But at the time I'm like, what? Like you don't take me seriously? Like how would you? And he's like, no, but I just don't care. And I'm like, you should, because I can leave you for a girl the same way I can leave for, like it's more likely, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just, even in my relationships, it's like sexualized. Like they're like, oh, you know, as long as I get to play too. Like, no, if I have a girlfriend, you're not touching her. That's my girlfriend. Like, what are you not understanding? This is not for play. Like, you know, I think it's all types of fucked.
How can heterosexuals be a good ally to queer folk?
Leave them alone. Like, shut up, mind your business. You don't need to understand everything. Like, you don't need to understand why people are how they are. Just mind your business. It's not your business. Like, I feel like there's even heterosexual couples where a girl, like the guy likes to be pegged. Or like nobody questions it. Nobody's like, oh, what are you doing in bed? But yet you feel like you need to go and ask a gay person like, oh, well, how do you have sex? Oh, do you have sex this way? It's not your business. Mind your business. Do your thing. Just know that love is love. That's it. Leave them alone. You don't need to fully understand somebody else's path. It's not yours. You know, it's different if you have somebody within your family who's in the LGBT community and you want to understand more and learn more about them. That's perfectly fine. But if you're just wanting to know more just because you want to have your 2 cents, keep it to yourself. Nobody needs it over here. Like, And I know it sounds fucked up and we want to be accepting, whatever. No, leave us alone. Mind your business. Like, we're good. Like,
what message would you give to someone struggling to accept their sexuality?
you could die tomorrow. And what if you die tomorrow and you never even kissed the girl? You're gonna be so mad that you never even explored your sexuality. Like, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna be mad because I don't know what happens after you die, but like, you know, like, we only have one life to live to our knowledge. So it's like, why not? Why not just be who you are and just accept yourself? Like, if you don't accept yourself, you can't look for acceptance within anybody else. Because anybody can tell you, like, yeah, this is fine, but if you don't have that within yourself, you're always gonna feel incomplete. And it sucks to feel that way. You know, I feel like every part of your journey in life will be incomplete because you're not accepting who you are, you know? And so my advice would be to just accept it. It's okay. And even if the people around you now don't accept it, other people will. And even if they don't, you'll be fine. I promise you, you will be okay. It may suck, it may hurt, it may not be the most beautiful journey, it may not be as romanticized as everyone says it is, and trust me, it's not easier on this side than it is dating men or whatever, but it's you, and it's okay.
Nicely put. Do you have any final words for those watching?
It's okay to set boundaries, and it's okay to not be aligned with certain things. It's okay to accept that you're not aligned with certain things, and don't force anything, you know? Just get out of your head, just live life, like, live it out open and out loud, and it's okay. Like, you will be fine. Like, trust and believe you'll be fine. Yeah.
Where can we find your art? Where can we keep up with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at oh.sheiki. So that's o.sheiki. And the link in my bio is my art page, and like my art website is gonna be up there soon too. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.